Deep within the gnarled embrace of an ancient forest lay a village, whispered about only in hushed tones, a place few dared to seek and fewer still ever found. It was a settlement forgotten by the march of time, shrouded in a pall of unsettling legends and chilling tales of inexplicable disappearances. No one who ventured beyond its borders ever returned, and those who remained lived in a perpetual state of silent dread, their eyes constantly flitting towards the dark, looming forest as if expecting some unseen horror to emerge. But the villagers' deepest terror was reserved for the colossal, ancient lemon tree that dominated the village square. Its branches, thick and twisted like a hag's fingers, bore an unnatural bounty of yellow lemons, untouched by any living soul. Some claimed the tree was cursed, a malevolent entity. Others believed it was a macabre vault, holding the trapped souls of the lost. On certain wind-swept nights, a low creaking emanated from its depths, a sound like a whispered warning to those brave or foolish enough to pass. One stormy evening, a young woman named Lila arrived, a traveler drawn by tales of the strange and unknown. She scoffed at superstitions and dark spirits. Fearless, or so she believed, she dismissed the villagers' frantic warnings. "Stay inside tonight," an old woman rasped, her voice trembling. "The blood moon rises. Do not go near the lemon tree. It hungers." Lila laughed, a sound that felt brittle in the heavy, unnatural air. "It's just a tree," she thought. How dangerous could it be? As the blood moon ascended, bathing the village in an eerie crimson glow, Lila felt an irresistible pull towards the square. The tree stood, its branches swaying, but not in a natural breeze. They seemed to reach, to beckon, almost alive. Against her better judgment, Lila drew closer. The lemons on its branches pulsed with a faint, deep red light. Her fingers, trembling with a forbidden curiosity, reached out and plucked one. The moment her skin touched the fruit, a searing pain shot through her hand, as if the tree itself had bitten her. Startled, she dropped the lemon. It didn't roll, it burst, spilling thick, dark blood onto the cobblestones. Lila gasped, stumbling back, her heart hammering. The blood spread unnatural and alive, creeping towards her feet. As she tried to retreat, the crimson pool formed into grotesque, silent, screaming faces, their mouths agape in terror. "You shouldn't have touched it," a voice hissed from behind her. Lila spun around, but the square was empty, silent save for the wind. The voice persisted, now all around her, echoing from the deepening shadows. "Why did you touch it?" Her breath hitched, primal fear seizing her. She fled back to the house she was staying in, slamming the door shut. Her hand throbbed, a strange red mark, like a twisted vine, curling around her wrist. It pulsed, as if with its own dark heartbeat. Lila paced, trying to rationalize the horror. A trick of the mind? A nightmare? She glanced out the window, and her blood ran cold. The lemon tree had moved. Its gnarled branches pressed against her window, scratching at the glass like skeletal fingers. The blood-red lemons hung there, swaying gently, and then, from the largest one, a single, malevolent eye opened, staring directly at her. Panicked, she backed away, but the scratching intensified, the branches pushing harder, cracking the glass. A low, guttural growl emanated from the hallway outside her door. Lila whirled, gripping a small kitchen knife she had found. The door slowly creaked open, revealing only impenetrable darkness. But the growling continued, closer now. Lila. The voice was deeper, more sinister, closing in. She needed to escape, to flee this cursed place. But as she turned to run, the door slammed shut with a deafening bang, and the lights flickered and died. Shadows in the corners of the room stretched, twisting into long, slender figures that crept towards her, their hollow eyes fixed on her soul. Desperate, she lunged for the back door, but before she could reach it, something cold coiled around her ankle. A braid of hair, long and black, had slithered from beneath the bed, tightening around her leg, pulling her down. She slashed at it with the knife, but it only tightened its grip, dragging her towards the encroaching darkness. The whispers returned, louder, more urgent. Give it back. Give it back. The room spun, her vision blurred, the air thick with the stench of decay. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, approached from behind. She turned, her blood turning to ice. Standing in the doorway was a woman, but not a living one. Her skin was pale, stretched taut over gaunt bones, her eyes sunken and lifeless. She wore a long, blood-stained white dress, her lips cracked and dry. When she spoke, her voice was a torrent of rage. You took my lemon. Lila tried to scream, but no sound escaped. The woman stepped closer, her long hair dragging behind her, twisted into endless braids. In her hand, she held a knife, its blade dripping with a substance too dark to be mere blood. You took my life. Lila stumbled back against the wall, her heart a frantic drum. The woman's dead eyes fixed on her, unblinking, unfeeling. Slowly, she raised the knife. You'll give it back. Before Lila could react, the lights vanished, plunging the room into absolute darkness. The only sound was the soft, rhythmic tapping of the knife against the floor, growing louder, closer. Then a chilling whisper echoed through the void, barely audible, yet clear enough to send shivers down her spine. Run. But where could she run? The tree was alive, the house filled with shadows and whispers, and this ghostly figure hunted her. There was nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. Lila stood frozen, her back pressed against the cold wall, the darkness alive with fear and dread. The tapping of the knife grew closer. Run. The voice had urged, but to what end? As Lila took a tentative step, her foot landed on something cold and wet. In the faint light filtering from the window, she saw the floor was covered in blood, spreading from where the ghostly woman stood, as if flowing directly from her spectral form. Her hollow, dead eyes locked onto Lila's. She raised her knife slowly, the metal glinting with a sickening red light, dripping with that thick, dark liquid. You took my lemon. You took my soul. The woman hissed, her voice a terrifying blend of rage and sorrow. No, you must pay. Lila backed away, her breathing shallow. The room seemed to shrink, the shadows stretching longer, creeping up the walls like living things. Every corner was consumed by darkness, and within that darkness, figures began to emerge twisted, deformed shapes with faintly glowing eyes. They were the souls of those who had vanished, forever trapped within the cursed tree, and now they were coming for her. Lila clutched the knife, her hands trembling, but what good was a blade against ghosts, against a village's ancient curse. She lunged for the door, her only hope of escape. But the moment her hand touched the handle, the door swung open on its own, revealing a long, narrow hallway that hadn't been there before. It was lined with mirrors, each cracked and coated in dust. As Lila stepped closer, she saw her reflection in the nearest mirror and gasped. It wasn't her. The face staring back was someone else's pale skin, wide, hollow eyes, a mouth twisted into a silent scream. The figure in the mirror slowly raised a hand, pressing it against the glass, as if trying to escape. "Help me," it mouthed, though no sound came. Lila recoiled, but then the other mirrors began to rattle and shake. Each one held a different reflection, faces of the lost, all trapped, all begging for release. Their hands pounded on the glass, their mouths opening in soundless screams, their eyes pleading for salvation that would never come. The hallway began to twist and turn, the walls closing in as Lila stumbled forward, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The mirrors stretched into infinity, each showing a different nightmare, a different version of herself, distorted and broken. Footsteps echoed behind her, slow and deliberate, each one louder than the last. She didn't dare look back, but she knew who it was, the woman with the knife. The braids of hair snaked along the floor again, reaching for her, wrapping around her legs, trying to drag her down. Lila broke into a desperate run, the mirrors shattering as she passed, glass raining around her. The hallway stretched on, endless, no doors, no windows, just more mirrors and more screaming reflections. But then, at the very end, she saw it, a door, a way out. She sprinted towards it, her heart pounding. Just as she reached for the handle, something cold seized her wrist. She spun around. Standing behind her was the woman, her dead eyes piercing Lila's soul. Her grip was like ice, freezing Lila's skin, and her face twisted into a cruel smile. "You can't leave," the woman whispered, her voice like nails on glass. "You belong to the tree now." Lila struggled, but the woman's grip tightened. The knife in her other hand gleamed in the faint light, its blade stained with the blood of countless souls. The braids of hair wrapped around Lila's ankles, pulling her to the floor, dragging her back towards the shadows. But Lila was not ready to surrender. With a sudden surge of strength, she slashed at the braids with her knife, severing the thick strands. The woman screamed, a high-pitched, ear-shattering sound that echoed through the hallway, shaking the very walls. The braids loosened, and Lila broke free, stumbling towards the door. She threw it open and slammed it shut, locking the horror behind her. Or so she thought. On the other side of the door was no safety, no escape. Instead, she found herself back in the village square, but it was utterly transformed. The village was empty, the houses crumbling, the streets overgrown with thick, coiling vines. The air was heavy with the stench of death. And there, in the center, stood the lemon tree, monstrously larger, its branches twisted and blackened, reaching impossibly high into the sky. The lemons that hung from its boughs were no longer yellow, but a deep, pulsating blood red, each one like a beating heart. The ground beneath the tree was soaked with blood, and the air buzzed with a low hum of whispers. Lila stepped closer, drawn against her will. As she approached, She saw movement among the branches' faces, twisted and deformed, staring down at her from within the leaves. The souls of the lost, trapped forever within the cursed tree. Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet began to shake. The tree's roots burst from the earth, twisting and curling like skeletal hands, reaching for her. Lila tried to run, but the roots were too fast. They wrapped around her legs, pulling her towards the tree, towards its dark, hungry maw. She screamed, but no one was there to hear her. The whispers grew deafening, filling her ears, her mind, her very soul. The faces in the tree watched with hollow eyes, their mouths opening in silent screams. The tree was alive, and it wanted her. The branches reached down, their gnarled fingers wrapping around her body, pulling her closer and closer to the trunk. She struggled, but it was futile. The tree was too strong. The bark split open, revealing a dark, pulsing core, and from within, the woman's voice echoed once more. "Give it back." Lila's heart pounded in her chest as the tree's branches pulled her closer to the gaping hole in its trunk. The whispers became a deafening chorus of voices, all demanding the same thing. "Give it back! Give it back!" Suddenly, the tree split open even wider, revealing a dark, empty void within. Lila screamed as the branches wrapped around her arms and legs, pulling her inside, dragging her into the darkness. And then